Hey, everybody. This is Bob Bain and Joe Massi for the 40 Years and 40 Beers podcast. Today is Friday, February 28th, and this is episode 5. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Finally got I think we finally on a good virtual setup now, right? Microphones, good, better cameras. Nothing much, man. I'm just chilling. So look, I started a new drink. This is red wine and lemonade.
Okay.
Calling that the Red Wedding.
I like it. I'm going with the traditional rum and Coke today on a Friday afternoon. Cheers, buddy.
Nice. Yes, sir. Cheers.
So I was thinking about something this week, and I don't care what men say. All right. You either done it once. All right. We've talked about this already this week.
Yeah.
You've either done it once, you do it all the time, you do it seldomly. But any man who says he's never done this is a goddamn liar. Sitting down to pee.
Yeah. I mean,
How many times a week? Because listen, there's no shame in my game. I would say every morning when I wake up at 5:30 and I go to the bathroom before I get ready for work, I am like stumbling through the house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and get stuff all over the toilet seat and God knows where. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to start my morning. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree. And the whole group chat admitted it. We're not going to put any names or faces out there, but I have a spraying problem. You're liable to get baptized if you're in the stall next to me. I just got tired of cleaning up. So is it
you can't hit the toilet, or it hits the toilet with such force that it like ricochets and comes back?
No, it's not an extremely forceful kind of thing. It's like multiple streams simultaneously. I get a little on my pants, you know what I'm saying? So like, no, it's a majority goes straight, but you get a little. It's just haywire. And I just got tired of cleaning up. So there's a Curb episode dedicated to this. And Larry was saying, like, why would you turn the lights on? That was my biggest thing. Like, it never occurred to me in the middle of the night, turn the lights on, your eyes, it's all messed up just for that. And then I'm spraying all over the place and I got to clean it the frig up. Like, just keep the lights off, sit down, relax yourself. It's no big deal. But yeah, I mean, it's a daily occurrence at this point.
Well, the other thing is usually it's a double bubble, right? In the morning, you're usually in there for a double bubble. So why not just sit down, relax? And why is this, people always make jokes about this, right? Why is this such like an unaccepted thing in society? It's like a guy who likes a well-done steak. I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But if that's the way he wants to eat it, that's the way he wants to eat it. If
I can't eat it any other way, but
right?
Well,
if I want to sit down to pee, why can't I sit down to pee?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I do it all the time. I'm just saying in the morning.
Only at the crib. It's off limits outside the crib.
This is 100% accurate. You cannot do this unless you're at home field. It's just like, listen, I don't know.
Home field
I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I can't even take a deuce away from the home field.
I could shit anywhere in the world. I could shit anywhere in the world. No.
Really?
No, absolutely. Porta potty doesn't matter. I could shit anywhere in the world.
So without reservation, just boom, you're good to go.
Yeah. What do you mean reservation? What's that even mean?
A reservation or a hesitation reservation. You're just like, you know what? I don't care where I am. I can just go wherever I want.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're, if you're at a couple's house and you just met them for the first time, there may be that embarrassment factor where, like, I'm about to blow this joint up and then I got to go back out there. Or like the couple sitting in front of the door at the restaurant knows you were in there longer than expected. I have that. Like everybody has that slight embarrassment factor of like, they're going to know I was in there for an extended period of time or they're going to smell it or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the physical act of going to the bathroom, I could do it anywhere in the world. My kids, they will not poop in school. They wait to come home. I can't. How could you hold it for 8 hours?
So, I mean, I've done it. I mean, I've absolutely done it,
but not intentionally 5 days a week just because you skeeve.
Is it like a phobia? Like have they ever done it? Or do they just not? Is it not even like on their radar?
They wait. I don't know. It's just, I don't think it's a phobia. No, it's not just a school problem. They're not comfortable pooping outside the house at all. And I'm saying I'm the exact opposite. I'm comfortable doing it anywhere. It just never, this thought that I have to go and I'm going to hold it until X number of minutes or hours later when I get home and I might have to be the one driving. Like, it's just bananas to me. Like, there's no way on God's green earth that I'm waiting if I have the opportunity.
Now, here's one of the questions I have. So we all, I think, get caught up when we're taking a deuce and you get caught up in the iPhone shuffle, right? Where you're all of a sudden you're there for 20 minutes. Do you think anybody gets caught up when they sit down to pee? Are they done for 15 minutes and still sitting there scrolling through the phone? Are there people who actually, because we've confirmed this on the group chat, we're not going to name any names. We know a certain individual who sits down to pee and scrolls through his phone.
I do.
How long are you paying for that you have time to scroll through your phone?
It's not about the length of the urination. It's about the fact that at this point in time, there's no difference between pissing and shitting in life.
I beg to differ, Max.
At the house, if you're sitting down, there's no difference. What's the difference? You can sit there.
One takes 10 seconds and one can take up to 7 minutes. You know what I mean? That's
no, but I mean, the only difference is when you choose to stand up. If you choose to sit there and scroll on your phone, whether it's a 1 or a 2, what's the difference?
So I don't know.
I don't do it every time. I can't poop without the phone or a magazine or something. I can't do that. But I don't scroll on the phone every time otherwise. But I mean, I've done it before. Definitely, I've done it before.
Okay. Now, how many do you think every man's done it?
Yeah. Every guy our age.
Do you think there's a man out there who, I'm not saying there aren't people out there who aren't not going to admit it. There's people who just think it's not masculine
that's the thing.
or whatever.
You have a whole group of people that are just not comfortable admitting it. And I don't know why. Like there's several things.
Are they lying? Are they lying?
I think some of them are. I think there's some people who won't do it at all. But again, that curb episode changed my life because it had never occurred to me before. I went 20, 25, 30 years turning that light on in the middle of the night, it killing my eyes, and it never occurred to me, like, you should leave the light off. Never occurred to me once. And then, so maybe some people just have to hear it out loud, but there's a handful of things that have always been in polite discussion in North America, like how much a man makes and brings home a year, sitting down to go to the bathroom. There's a handful of things, how you take your steak, although that's not as controversial as anything else. But there always been a handful of things that people are just, men especially, are not comfortable talking about. Women will talk about all that stuff. They don't really care. They don't have that same ego or bravado like we do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and it's funny talking about like stigmas and how people, just don't want to admit certain things. Like, I was saying this to somebody the other day, and I don't know if this is a good way to live, a bad way to live. One thing I've really come to understand lately is I honestly don't care what anybody thinks about me besides my wife and my 2 kids. And I think when you think that way, life kind of just gets a little bit easier and you don't take yourself seriously, right? It's like right now we're talking about 2 men who admit that every morning they sit down and take a pee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as free with that as you are. But I'm making an attempt specifically for the podcast. But it's the truth, though. Like, I'm not going to lie. First of all, because nobody gives a fuck about us or our families or what we do, and it's like nobody cares. See, you know what I mean? Like, that was the best advice that What's-the-Name gave C. It's like, nobody cares. And he's right. Like, it's been like that forever. Like,
it has been.
Outside of your little tiny bubble. And hopefully, this platform allows us to make that bubble larger and larger over the next several years. But outside of your bubble, nobody could give 2 shits about what you're doing.
No, and don't get me wrong. I mean, we're even really fortunate to have a pretty tight-knit group of friends, close friends. We've been friends for, 30 years. And even then, like, you know what? If somebody in our group didn't like me, for some reason, didn't want to be around me, would it hurt my feelings a little bit? Yeah, but at the end of the day, hey, buddy, you got to live your life.
Yeah, you're not going to lose sleep. It's not going to change your family, your career path, none of that stuff. So I'm the same way. We don't have to work at it. That's the beauty of the friendship we all have, right? The 6 or 7 of us, we don't have to work at it. But yeah, like if one, like there's been a couple guys over the years that have dropped out of the group chat, stopped associating with us, and it hasn't changed the core remainder of the group one bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll drop their names here and there. We'll still try to reach out, but it is what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, somebody's mother passes away, I'm going to be the first one at the funeral, but we don't interact with the group chat. Somebody's firing off in the group chat every 20 minutes. We started the group chat when the virus started. So every 20 minutes for the last 5 years,
I think, right? It was Vinny
it was me. Don't ever disrespect me like that again.
Sorry, don't ever disrespect Vito's cat again.
But if you think about, one of the 7 of us has been talking to the group every 20 minutes for the last 5 years. That's fucking remarkable.
It is.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's
yeah,
one of the
like I don't
greatest
take, like you're saying, I don't take that for granted. But if 7 turns into 4, you got to continue to move forward. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, for sure.
No, I agree. You know, we're going on this Brokeback mountain camping trip next week. You know, it's me and 3 other.
I can't wait to pop in on you guys.
3 other male individuals. Now, 2 of us are definitely. I'm an experienced camper. You know, another individual is. I guess we'll call him semi-experienced, right?
Yeah, but there's a cabin with electricity. How experienced?
So it's not a cabin. It's called a lean-to, which lean-to
is a mini cabin.
No, there's nothing in it besides there's 4 walls and a floor.
But there's electricity.
There's not electricity.
Really?
That's for the next trip where we all go.
Yeah, I can't go without electricity.
You know, this is like the primitive deal in the winter. I mean, we're going the first week of March.
How are you guys staying warm at night?
So there's a wood stove in the lean-to. So all the lean-tos I've always seen have always been 3 walls and a floor. So the front is usually open.
Get the fuck out of here, bro.
So there wasn't really a heating source in the lean-to. You would usually have to, build your fire in front of the opening and then find a way for the smoke to obviously not go into the lean-to at night because you would suffocate. But in this instance,
crazy with that shit,
in this instance, we're going to have an actual wood stove in the lean-to, which will already have an exhaust running out of the roof of the lean-to. So you put your wood in there at night, and the wood stove is metal, so it heats up to a pretty high temperature. And that will heat the lean-to for the night. Now, even when we're outside, Mass, like even when we're sitting around the campfire and it's 38 degrees, we're outside, we're going to have that fire built so high that it's going to feel like it's 70 degrees where we're sitting.
Even outside? Okay, yeah.
Even outside, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to stopping by. I'm not all the crazy shit we've been saying in the chat, like the preparation and the list, and don't forget utensils, and like I just ordered this kind of sleeping bag on Amazon. None of that stuff interests me whatsoever. Like I really am not comfortable with any of this sleeping outside or sleeping in a little cabin kind of shit. But I want to try the April trip when it's a little different circumstances, a little softer for me. And then maybe eventually I'll get there next year or later this summer. Vinny's crazy with that shit, dog. Vinny be like, yeah, I just got it a bear. I made a new jacket. Anybody want to join me? Like, yeah. I can't get down like that. You know what I mean?
I didn't even bring a sleeping bag. I'm just using my caribou.
I'm going to stand in the corner all night. I'm like, dog, you're fucking crazy. He's like, what am I going to do while the rest of you to sleep? And I'm like, sleep, motherfucker. This is nuts.
Exactly.
He's crazy.
I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, lay down, put your head on the pillow, go to sleep.
Where's there a pillow? You're laying on the floor.
You bring, so, okay, I'm going to school you a little bit. So if you prepare yourself, camping can be a really awesome experience. I mean, you can bring air mattresses. You can bring pillows.
Everything before and after sleep sounds fantastic to me. Okay. That's why Poop and I are coming down.
Wait, what are you coming for the night and then going home?
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was a thing. So you're going to drive all the way up to like Atlantic City area.
It's 90 minutes. Relax yourself all the way. We're fucking 90 minutes away. Relax.
You know who you're talking to.
It's one toll, dog. Relax. You act like we're on the other side of the country.
I won't even do day trips to the shore.
I know, but I'm saying, like, relax with all the way up there. So,
like it's in Maine.
Listen, we've all been very busy lately. Poop and I we must have recorded 100 songs, several hours. We haven't really had a chance to listen to together ever, except for the day it was being made. I listen on my own, he listens on his own, but we haven't had the opportunity to ride in the car together or be anywhere physically in the same space where we can listen to an entire album together. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that just as much as hanging out with the rest of you guys. Like the 90 minutes up and the 90 minutes back, getting 3 solid hours of listening to all of our new material, and then
you can critique it.
Yeah, take notes, maybe go home and make adjustments and stuff like that. And then there's nothing better than riding around in a car to your own album. But then in the middle of that, to be able to spend 2-3 hours with you guys as well, like it's going to be a good night. You know what I'm saying? And then if it wasn't so far, I would love to be back again in the morning. The whole trip seems fantastic just to be able to hang out with everybody. But the sleeping part is what I can't get down like that.
So when you go camping, they have like rollout pads, foam pads, for example. You can't hear me? Is that what you said?
Oh, I was gonna say I've never gone camping. I thought you were asking me a question, but go ahead.
No, so when you go, like for example, I mean, I'm probably not going to bring an air mattress because one, it's just rude because I don't know how much room is in there, right, for us all to be in there. So I'll probably end up bringing just like a 1/2-inch foam sleeping pad, and I'll have a mummy bag. All right,
mummy bag.
A mummy bag is basically a sleeping bag that zips all the way up, and the only thing opened is here. And I have a 20-degree bag. All right. So it'll keep me completely warm up to 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is that what you had Rebel order?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. That's awesome.
So there's ways to be comfortable.
I didn't know they existed.
Yeah. And what you do is, I mean, now we're not going to have any running water there. Obviously, you know, like I said, it's going to be a pretty primitive situation. But if you bring enough bottled water, you know, you bring gallons of water, you bring bottles of water, you know, for your drinking. Also, you're in a national park. Most of your campsites are usually near a water source, a river, a pond, something. So you're going to have water available to do dishes, you know, clean your utensils. It's if you just sit back and actually think for a second, all right, how do I live comfortably in this situation? Anything is possible and anything is extremely comfortable. It's more when you work yourself up like, oh, you know what? I've never done this before. How do I, believe it or not, it's living at home just outside.
Yeah.
So how do you do that, right? How do you take the steps to live comfortably in an outdoor environment?
It's much different.
What's the difference? I mean, the difference is, right, we don't have electricity.
So okay, so let me back up a second.
Go ahead.
You're not wrong. If it was May, I'd have no issues whatsoever. It's the lack of heat, I think, is my main problem. Number one. Number two, the lean-to changes the game for me because I wasn't comfortable sleeping on the straight up ground either, right? So like A, I wasn't hip to the mummy bag situation. That's a game changer. B, I'm thinking we're going to be on the ground in a tent and there's just a thin piece of nylon separating me from bugs and the dirt and all that kind of stuff. And then it's the extreme cold. So if we're in May and we're in a lean-to, all that goes out the window. Those are the only three issues I have is the cold, sleeping on the ground, and then not being able to cover yourself properly enough so that you get something in your ear or you get a bug up your ass or all that kind of weird stuff. So the mummy bag, the lean-to, and warmer weather solves all my problems. Those are the only issues I have.
Okay, so ready? One, the cold, the heat. What do you need to stay warm? You need a heat source, right? You know, at home, we have our gas or electric or oil heater, correct? That's our heat source. When you're out camping, your heat source is your fire. Wood is your fuel, all right? That replaces your gas, your electricity, your oil, all right? Going to your point about, you know, you're afraid about being covered up and there's something crawling in your ear, a bug, whatever. It's winter. There's no bugs out. You're actually more likely to see bugs in the spring in May.
Well, but they don't really get through the mummy bag either.
Well, they're not going to get through the mummy bag either. I mean, what I do is I don't leave my face out. I mean, that's just an opening.
You're not rocking the mummy bag in May either, though. It's too hot.
No. I mean, in May, I'm just going to use a regular sleeping bag, or sometimes I might even not use. I'll just lay on top of the sleeping bag and use a blanket.
It's good to talk through it because I'm thinking May would be better. Now you got me thinking May's worse.
So the fire's always going to keep bugs away, right? So you don't have to worry about that. And
if it's too warm for the mummy bag, then I haven't solved any of my problems.
Well, no, but also if you're not going to be in a lean-to in the spring, we probably wouldn't be in a lean-to, right? You don't need to be in a four-wall, so you're going to be
I didn't even know
tents.
lean-tos existed, dog.
Yeah, and you can just be in tents. If you're clean at the campsite and you remember to always zip your tent, you're not going to have bugs in your tent, right? So see, I'm schooling you a little bit. There's always ways to relax and realize that, you know what, I know I have this concern.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like my relaxation process is let me do the April trip where there's electricity and it's a little different and I ease into it. Who knows? This time next year, let's go on record. This time next year, I'm full fucking Fred Flintstone. I'll do whatever you and Vinny want me to do.
All right. Well, the moral of this story is sit down when you pee. All right. That's what
So what we're uncovering is this is a great segue into another topic. So it's not just, I've been thinking about, I knew we were going to at least spend a minute or two talking about the whole camping situation. It's not just the camping situation. I realized that there are many aspects of my life where I live in fear. So you're talking about the freedom that comes with not caring about or focusing about what other people think about you. That's different. what I'm referring to is like, I don't know if it was like, April thinks it was because I've been working from home since the virus hit. Like, she thinks that the isolation and the position that you're in for several hours a day by yourself is what brought this on. I can't really pin it on my brother. You know what I mean? He passed in 2016, and I was totally fine for several years after that. Well, not fine in terms of the grieving process, but like with this fear situation, my uncle's not doing too good, and he's sick. He's in the hospital, and so like, you know, like it hit me that it's not just this me being ridiculous with the camping thing. Like, I live in fear of my wife leaving, of my boss firing me, of, you know, not being in touch with my mom for 2-3 days and then walking into her house and finding her dead. Everything. Like, I don't know why. I don't like, I'm like, it's like I can't enjoy the good parts. Like, I'm always waiting for that other shoe to drop. And if something goes well, then, you know, I'm waiting for something to go wrong. Like, I just can't enjoy good moments and stuff like that. So it dawned on me that with everything that's going on, it wasn't just like a weird camping or outdoors or sleeping in the cold kind of situation. It's much bigger than that. You know what I mean? And I don't know when it started. I can't really put a pattern to it, but like tons of things that are irrational and would never happen and never have happened. You know, I don't know, like that. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's like, it's everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it's just a matter of time kind of mentality. And I know that it affects you throughout the day, and it's not something that is easy to kick or talk yourself out of. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I'm really glad you brought this up, because I think this is something, especially with the brand of our podcast, right? 40 years and 40 beers. I think this is a lot of things that most men don't want to talk about, right? Especially in your 40s. I mean, we all care about our families. We all want to make sure that we're the strongest possible person we can be for our family, make sure we're always doing the right thing. And frankly, anxiety, depression, all of these things are real things. You know, I wish they weren't. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm really going to open up a little bit, since you just did. You know, I struggle with extreme anxiety and used to be completely out of my mind with it. I had a problem with, like you just said, worrying about if your wife's going to leave you, worried about if your boss is going to fire you. When frankly, I think you would agree, when you're having these thoughts, if you really sit down and think about it, there's no reason for you to be having them, right? Like, there's no driving factor that's in your life that's like, oh my God, I did this wrong with April, so she's going to leave me, or, you know, I'm
Zero.
really screwing up at work. It's just the way your mind works, right?
Exactly.
So the same.
No evidence, no proof, no suspicion, there's not even a hair or a twinge of any truth or reality connected to any of it. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, when I said, one day my mother is going to pass away, and you know, but like, it's just this constant, what next kind of, you know, like, you constantly keep asking yourself, what's next? And you're right. When you talk yourself through, this is irrational, this is not a normal thought to have, there's no truth to it, move on. The moving on becomes a new fear. It doesn't become fearless. You know what I mean? And that's the issue, is like, you and I talked about the medication. I tried some. It didn't seem to make a difference for me. I tried a lot of different things from a medical perspective that didn't seem to make a difference for me. And, you know, like, I have no idea how much truth there is or is not in like all the stuff you see on TikTok. But let's pause there for a second. You actually did find something that worked for you, or at least helped alleviate it a little bit.
So I, thankfully, and this is actually not the way it usually goes, right before COVID started, I got laid off from a company I was with for 14 years. All right. And I always had major anxiety. It's one of the main things they say is what makes you like a good employee. You know, we talked about this before, you know, and when I got laid off, it went up even higher. Okay. I was fortunate enough that I got a new job within a month of getting laid off. Was there for a year, and I absolutely hated it. Okay. So then I went to another place that I absolutely hated. So now my anxiety's through the roof, going, I'm never going to be happy again at a place that I'm working, right, in my career. So I get recruited to go to a company in Prospect Park, and Guy pays me a great salary, so I leave where I'm at. And within a month, he calls me in and he's like, hey, listen, I don't know if we can keep you anymore. Really no explanation, right? And just says, I'm going to pay you for a month. I'm going to keep you on the benefits for a month. No hard feelings, need a referral. And right away I went, oh my God, the guy couldn't afford me.
Yeah.
Like, the guy owes me nothing, right? After 30 days. Why would he pay me for a month and keep me on? You know what I mean? There's no reason to. It's small business. So now I felt like my mind was going to explode, Mass. I really did. I could feel my mind going at this point with my anxiety. I was pacing through my house all the time.
And we're in like the second phase of lockdown at this point.
We are right now. This is 2021. So it's still kind of, we're coming out of COVID, but we're still probably
that second wave.
Yeah. So now, one Saturday night, I'm out back of my house and having a beer. I think it was like, I want to say September. So it's still nice out. Having a beer, watching college football. And all of a sudden, my mind starts going just out of nowhere. All right, you know what? Social Security, my wife would get this for the kids. I have this much in my 401k, blah, blah, blah. I have this much in savings. I didn't even realize it, Mass. I was thinking about killing myself. Didn't even realize it at the time. And about 5 minutes later, it hit me. And I was like,
wait a minute. Because, hold on, I don't mean to interrupt at such an important part, but there's a big difference between thinking about killing yourself and thinking about what life would be like when you're gone. Which one was it?
It was probably more a gesture, thinking about how would the kids and Antoinette
what
be
would it look
if I was
like?
dead?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess that's what you could say.
Yeah.
So, which in my opinion is enough to freak you out.
No, yeah. I'm not saying it takes away from the gravity of the situation. I'm just saying there's a big difference between like, let me go get a gun or a rope or slip my wrist this way versus this way, as opposed to what would things look like if I go off the deep end and my wife has to pick up the pieces. There's a big difference in those.
So, I don't
thoughts.
disagree. I don't want to. Suicide's a very, very, very serious thing. So I don't want to disrespect anybody who's actually, I agree with you. That's a better way to go about it.
Yeah.
It was more wondering if I did go down that road,
what would it look like
they survive?
From my loved ones. Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
And after that was on a Saturday. Monday, I made a doctor's appointment. Told them flat out. I said, this is what happened. I said, I've had these issues with anxiety my whole life. They got me in there on Wednesday. Went through the exam, spoke to the doctor. Thankfully, they got me on a medicine, and they said that, hey, listen, there's a 50% chance it's not going to work. We may need to try something else. We may need to tweak the dosage, whatever. And for me, it worked on the first try. My family, my wife, myself, we all noticed it within like 3 or 4 days. I don't think about or obsess about the future anymore. Like, Mass, I used to obsess about money in what would be in my bank account, in my checking account, savings account, etc. a month and a half from now. I would try to figure that out. Who the hell knows what you're going to spend in the next 90 days? It's impossible to figure that out.
What's going to happen?
But this is the stuff that I would obsess about. And I still definitely have anxiety a little bit. It's always going to be a part of my personality. But I can definitely tell you that the medicine helped me. And I think that's what people have to realize when it comes to mental health is it can be anything, right? Like, for me, it was really a chemical thing. Like, some people's brains are wired differently.
Yeah.
I'm on what's called an SSR or whatever it's called. It's a serotonin, release, and it regulates my serotonin. There were issues with serotonin in my brain, and that's why I was having crazy thoughts. I was so anxious, and frankly, it was probably the greatest thing I ever did in my life. And I don't know where I would be if after years of my sister and people telling me, Bob, you really need to go see a doctor and get on meds of fighting it. Like, I don't know where I would be right now if I didn't finally take their advice and not hit rock bottom, so to speak, but just get to a point in my life where I was like, you know what, I can't live like this anymore for me.
I mean, it's not easy to admit to yourself. It's not easy to do something about. It's not easy to deal with in front of your kids. And that's the other thing too. Like, as a guy, we talked about, like, some men are uncomfortable talking about what they make for a living. this is even way more difficult to discuss, right? Like you don't even want your kids and wife to see you like this, let alone talk through how I'm going to make it better and like the plan to improve, You would say that you have the same symptoms, but you're able to deal with them much better.
So I don't even know. I guess you could say that. I mean, listen, I probably had a touch of depression too. I mean, probably not clinical depression, but when I was working at a place for a year and I absolutely hated it, my wife would call me Sunday through Thursday, Bobby, and then weekend, Bobby. And I would get like anxiety. I would gag. I would gag on Monday mornings as I was getting ready to go to work, filled with anxiety. And that's no way to live. And I have a pretty stressful job now. I'm responsible for sales in two pretty large companies. I run both of them. I'm the sales director of both. And it's just, I don't have that driving anxiety anymore because I'm on the medication. Obviously there's things that weigh on you a little bit. And if you're in a certain position in your life, and you have things that you have to take care of, they are going to weigh on you. But I'm not obsessing over them anymore. And I'm not, I'm not crippled by them or sitting in a chair curled up in a ball because I'm so worried about completing a task or what's going to happen in the future.
I think that I still haven't figured out yet and I definitely have talked to therapists in the past. And this one lady says, like, you never fix anything. You never really improve anything. You have to find a way to tolerate it. And if there's any truth to that, sometimes you find a way to tolerate it with medication. Sometimes you find a way to tolerate it with, like, April thinks all I need to do is start exercising and go back into the office and all my problems are solved. When my brother died in 2016 until the virus in 2020, even though I had lost my only sibling, I wasn't as bad as I am today. I don't know. I mean, I talk to hundreds of people over Zoom, but it's not the same as hanging out in physical. You know what I mean? I can't really put a pattern to it. Do you think that if you never lost that job, you would be on this medication?
It's a great question.
After lunch is when I have all the great questions.
Yeah, I think eventually it would have caught up with me because I had a very stressful. I've always had very stressful job. Like when I first started out of college, I was just in sales. And then I always worked my way up to a position, higher in the sales department. And then when I've always transferred, I always maintained that. I've maintained that. It's always been at least a lateral position at every company, if not a promotion.
Well, plus you take it serious and you have to put food on the table for
exactly. I mean, it's
human beings. Yeah.
And I don't know, this is going to be funny. So one of the things that used to drive me in work is no matter how much money we had, right? Let's say we had a ton of money in our savings, we had a ton of money invested in places, whatever. I always had this fear one day that I was going to wake up and every penny was going to be gone. I don't know what caused that. I don't know why I felt that way, but I've never lived beyond my means because of it, but it's always been such an anxiety thing for me where, oh my God, I'm going to run out of money. I'm not going to have any money. And that's one thing that is one thing I still obsess about. I'm obsessed with making sure my family's always okay financially and not saying that I'm one of these great fathers because of that. I think 99% of America is.
Yeah.
But it's one thing that I still obsess over in that regard.
I don't know if I obsess over it like that. I am aware that a couple years after my brother died, my father died. Like I lost my grandmother, my brother, my father, all in a span of 4 years. And you think about like my dad's gone. My mom's not in a position to do certain things. Now you have your own family. Now you're the father. And you do realize like there's that point when as a man, you're like, have no one else to turn to for financial things. You always have somebody to turn to for this or that. If I were ever to get into like a major jam or there was an emergency, my mom would do everything she could. Like I don't mean that I don't have people in my life that would help, but just in a general sense, like when it's not like, Dad, can I have $20 to go to the movies? Like when everything is entirely on you under normal circumstances, it clicks in your brain one day. Like that just in and of itself is a big burden to bear. Like we were talking about it, I think the first or second episode when we said like nobody walks you through the house and shows you where the hose bib is and the emergency shutoff is. Like it's the same thing. Now you have no father figure to support you any longer. Now you're the guy supporting everyone else. Like when that clicks in your head, it could be a major realization that's not easy to deal with. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that. Life's so cyclical, right? You go through the generations of people. You just say you don't have a father figure anymore. You know why, Mass? You are the father figure of the family.
I know.
So my sister and I talked about this. My godfather, my Uncle Tom, my mother's sister's husband is still alive. He's the only one in that family on my mom's side from that generation. all right, when he goes, me, my sister, my brother, and my two older cousins, we become the elders in the family.
Yeah.
And it's just cyclical. Eventually our kids will be the elders in the family, right?
And I still have 3 or 4 uncles, blood uncles alive. So I'm not there yet. But yes, but it's along those same lines. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so listen, I mean, all you can do is, again, when it comes to mental health, I mean, there are exercises. Some people can do that. They work for me. So I'm not going to sit here and try to preach those to people. Again, I truly believe that what worked for me isn't going to work for somebody else. So anybody who's out there is having issues, all I would say is, hey, when you are ready, call your healthcare provider, your primary care doctor, and they will take care of you. They'll do what's best for you. And in my opinion, anything you can do to make your mental health better is better for you, your family, the people around you, all of your loved ones. You're just helping yourself become a better individual.
I agree. I mean, that's the challenge, is nothing is ever as serious as you think it is until you get out on the other side. Sometimes not everybody gets out on the other side, and that's the challenge. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, to start bringing things in a little bit lighter of a direction. So because I tried a couple medications, I tried gummies and stuff like that, I haven't found anything that I felt has worked yet. So again, my wife still thinks it's just diet, exercise, and physical work. But you watch a lot of these guys on TikTok, right? You see, like Mel Gibson says, I had a couple friends had cancer. They took ivermectin. They no longer have cancer. And then you see millions of things about like methylene blue and this thing and that thing. And like, they can't all be wrong, right? Like how can hundreds of people saying the same thing be wrong? Were hundreds of people wrong when they all said Michael Jackson did XYZ with children? You know what I'm saying? So like,
you and I definitely, and this could be a really good conversation because it's not more of a disagreement. We just have different views. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, I don't know. I think it's a very valid question that they can't all be wrong, right?
Yeah. And
but then here's the other question. So a lot of people believe like that the reason those natural medicines aren't out there is because of big pharma, correct?
Some of them, yes.
Some of them.
Yeah.
So
or like the cure for cancer is being suppressed because it would put millions of industries out of business, kind of.
Yeah. Well, even I don't know about that conspiracy, but
well, just forget about cancer. The cure for anything is suppressed by the people who make money off of the illness.
No, I agree. But so my point is, it's just like anything, right? Like pharmaceuticals is a business, correct? So one of the reasons I'm hesitant to believe these things about the natural medicine and how they work is, pharmaceutical companies want to make money no matter what, and they want to keep their costs down, correct? So if their costs are down, and then they can therefore sell the prescription, the medicine, to the customer even more cheap, but there's going to be more turnover of it, right? Because people are going to use it more often. They're going to have more trust in it. Billions and billions of dollars. If this was the future, don't you think they'd be out there farming all of this stuff on their own? You know what I mean? That's the one question I have.
Yes and no.
If it was if it worked so well, I think the pharmaceutical companies would already be out there trying to get ahead of it, right?
You don't know that they're not. You don't know that they're not really behind the sale of the thing you buy on a TikTok shop. You have no proof that they're not behind it. That's
okay.
Number one. Number two, it might not be that easy with all the regulations and doing. If you can assume that they're not behind it, and you can assume that they want to compete in a legal fashion, it might not be that easy to. Some of the stuff you see on TikTok says for research purposes only. CVS can't sell that. So
no, I agree.
I think it's a little bit of column A, B, and C. I think they might be the ones behind it. They might not be able to do the thing.
Hold on, let me get my tinfoil hat. Hang on.
No. We're not getting like that. The other thing is, I'm not alleging that any of this stuff works. I'm saying, why not just be open to trying it?
I don't disagree with you. And if it works, it works.
What if the medicine your doctor gave you didn't work? What would be the next thing that would cross your mind? I need to try another medication.
So I probably would have went to another pharmaceutical, which is funny because I'm so anti, like narcotic and pain pill. And some of these things that they're giving me, are benzos. And so they are narcotics.
Well, you don't have to get into specifics. I'm just saying, generally speaking, if medication 1 doesn't work, you try medication 2.
Correct.
And that's all I'm saying is, so like, what's the harm in putting a little ivermectin on a cracker and seeing what happens? You know what I'm saying? Like, or putting a little methylene blue in your water and seeing what happens. Yes.
You know,
well, but why is it that you believe your doctor is not going to steer you in a direction to end up with a tail, but Joe Rogan is?
So I believe it because I believe that these pharmaceuticals and these drugs have been tested, you know, and you're not going to be 100% accurate in everything, right? I mean, we've learned that from the gate. Nobody's perfect.
Gary Brecka, because he's, I don't even know. There's so many reposts. I don't even know what his real channel is. We'll have to find it for the editing process. But he says that you don't inherit anything from your parents. He says that he talks to doctors all the time, and like they'll say, I'm treating Bobby because of heart disease he inherited. I'm treating Joe for diabetes that he inherited. And then he says to the doctors, like, everybody's treating somebody for something that they inherited. What gene did you inherit that gave you this thing from your father or mother? And no one can answer the question. And his perspective is like,
isn't it a DNA thing?
No, he's saying, but he's saying, what gene did I inherit from my father that inherently gives me type 2 diabetes? Or what gene did I inherit from my mother that inherently gives me heart issues? Again, it could all be bullshit. But his perspective is like, no one can tell me what the gene is because the gene doesn't exist. And if the gene doesn't exist, the issue doesn't exist. And he's saying that it's all something completely different than what they've been thinking or telling you for a very long time. My point of all this is to bring the last fucking half hour full circle. He said that when, again, this is all just his opinion, speculation. It could be crazy tinfoil hat shit, and I could be totally out of my mind as well. His perspective is the reason that some people, and I think that I fall into this category, some people can't put a pattern or a start date or a major trigger or a traumatic experience they can't associate with their anxiety is because there is not one. And it could just be, like you said, an imbalance in something. Maybe the imbalance, it gets addressed by a medication your doctor gives you. Maybe it gets addressed by diet or exercise. All those things can be true. But maybe it gets addressed by another medication. He says that anxiety is a rise in something called catecholamines. And if you take a certain amino acid on a daily basis, it regulates those catecholamines so that you don't have this giant crash and burn and you have enough reserve in the tank. So like basically he's saying like, if this is your problem, you're low all the time and it's like flooring the gas when there's nothing in the tank. And so he said that there's something called L-tyrosine that you can take. So I ran it by ChatGPT, which is, I'm going to write that down. We have to have a conversation with ChatGPT at some time.
So you know about my feeling with ChatGPT. I mean, does nobody remember Judgment Day? Does nobody remember Terminator 2? We're getting close, Mass. We're getting close to having to be hiding in bunkers with laser guns, like it's laser tag.
If the last 50 minutes proved anything, it's that.
Don't you dare say man will prevail. Don't you?
No. It's that you and I are comfortable putting our business out there. Forget privacy. Nobody has privacy.
Nobody has privacy
went out the window a long time ago. ChatGPT improves my life on a daily basis, both personal and professional, bottom line. And I buy into it 100%.
So I don't even know if I'm that against the ChatGPT. I think it's more just AI in general and not the automation AI that makes life a little bit easier in computer programs. But now they're starting to make these robots, Mess. And I don't care what anybody says.
Dog.
Because the one looks just like the iRobot robot from Will Smith's movie. Yeah. Am I the only one who remembers that these robots tore humans' arms off?
No, I'm not.
Me. Am I the only one?
All that could totally happen. All of that could totally happen. I'm saying until the day that iRobot rips my limbs off, I'm going to get value out of him. That's it. That's all I'm saying. You got to go, Simon. What have we been saying this whole time? You got to go at some point. That's the one thing I don't live in fear of is artificial intelligence.
Well, you know what? When friggin' Elon makes the whatever 2000 and he comes out and snaps your head off, I'm going to be the first one to go, you know what? He was a nice guy, but I told him.
So hold on. Let me finish with the other thing. So I checked with my doctor and I checked with ChatGPT. L-tyrosine, if I'm pronouncing it properly, helps. And I started taking it a couple days ago. So I have to get back to you guys in a few weeks and let you know if it makes any difference for me. So I just want to get that out. So Elon's ChatGPT is the best one that I've used by far the best one that I used. I think it's called Grok, Grok.
Oh, this is the one that fact checks him on its own. That's phenomenal.
Grok is unbelievable. Now, you can't talk to Grok. You can talk to Microsoft's version, which is Copilot, and you could talk to Google's version, which is Gemini. So let's ask him about the L-tyrosine.
Here to answer question.
Can you hear him?
I can, and I already don't like it.
You could change the voice. Call me Joe.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
So I've been having issues with anxiety, and I can't really pinpoint anything. I tried a few medications from my doctor that didn't work. A high dose of L-tyrosine could work over an extended period of time. A, is that safe? And B, what do you think about that?
Anxiety is definitely tough. As for L-tyrosine, it's an amino acid that helps produce neurotransmitters like dopamine, which are linked to mood regulation.
So what about my children? Like, if it works for me,
their bodies and brain chemistries are still developing. So what works for adults may not be safe or effective for them, especially those involving supplements or medications.
And you could just go on and on like
so
that.
It's
you
interesting.
Could change topics.
It sounds like it's very similar to one of these SR, things that I'm taking.
But that's what I'm saying. We're already there.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So guys, definitely take care of your mental health. Like we said earlier, it's not something to mess around with, especially at our age. I know that Massi and I here are spring chickens, but the rest of you guys out there, you're coming in on it. So I know we talked.
What else?
I know we talked about. We were putting the podcast together. We wanted to do a little section every podcast kind of regarding pop culture called Pop Shots.
Pop Shots is a great name.
I'm a big fan of the name. I love a good pop shot.
Yeah. We got brew bits and pop shots. Yeah. It's coming together, cuz.
So I don't know if you saw on the news lately, we've had 2 celebrity deaths in the past 2 days. We've had Michelle Trachtenberg, who was on Buffy. Oh, yeah, 39 years old. 39.
Scotty doesn't know?
Yes. So I said that
Scotty doesn't know is my shit.
Is that not the greatest cameo in movie history with Matt Damon?
Euro Trip is great. Matt Damon's been great like that. Have you seen, he just did the trailer for Andrew Schultz's new comedy.
Can I tell you an amazing story? Amazing story. Then we got to get back on topic. Yeah. So in 2004, Antoinette took me to Italy for her cousin's wedding. It was just when Euro Trip came out. We watched it on the fucking plane. All right.
Nice.
I'm going around Italy for the 10 days going, mi scusi. And then, do you remember that you told me that the bathroom was called the Pisciadul?
Yeah.
When actually the Pisciadul means little peepee.
Yeah.
So I go over there and it's like 2 a.m. and I'm drinking grappa and I go, hey, where's the Pisciadul? And they all start cracking up. Yeah. So thank you for that. But anyway, back to, so yes, Michelle Trachtenberg, she was in Euro Trip. All right. So yeah, she died, 39 years old. She was in
what? What happened?
It looked like something about her, like her liver. I guess she had a liver transplant and the body rejected it or whatever. So, unfortunately, she passed away. And then you have Gene Hackman. Did you hear about this?
No.
Gene Hackman died at 95.
I didn't even know he was still alive.
Next to his wife. Or not next to his wife, with his wife in the same house. All right. Dog dead. Okay. So they weren't found for a couple days. First, theory would obviously be like carbon monoxide poisoning or something, right? The problem is they found 2 other dogs in the house alive. Why would 2 people and a dog be dead and the other 2 be alive with carbon monoxide poisoning? So where I'm going with this is things happen in threes. Who is the next celebrity who's going to die within the next 2-3 days? Who would you put your money on?
First of all, the wife and the dog died, so we're already at 4. But
the wife's not a celebrity.
Yeah, but death happens in threes, not celebrity death happens in threes. Now you're going to get a shutdown for fucking, if you're right, and we're going to get investigated for, oh my God.
Ready?
Yeah, drums, please. No, I'll do that with the effects.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, that's a great, you can't just throw a softball up at an old person. Let's get a little more creative.
Okay, Diddy.
I'm going to go crazy with I don't know, Amy Schumer. Something you wouldn't expect. You know what I mean?
She lost a lot of weight recently, hasn't she? She looks great.
No,
are you sure?
Puffy AF in that fucking
Who am I thinking of that who lost a lot of
video?
weight? Is that the girl
movie
from Pitch Perfect? who lost all the weight? Rumor? Willis?
Oh, yeah.
Wilson?
Rebel
Wilson.
Rebel Wilson. Yeah, something like that.
No,
She
Willis
lost
is
a lot of
the
weight.
dog.
No, Amy Schumer is puffy as shit in the Kind of Pregnant movie on Netflix that just came out. I don't know if she's faking pregnant, so she's not really pregnant in the film. I don't know if she just recently had a baby or what's going on, but she's puffy as shit in that fucking movie. There's no way she lost weight.
All right, so there we go. There's our list. We're gonna have either Clint Eastwood, Diddy, or Amy Schumer is gonna pass away in the next 3 days. You heard it here first. All right.
Oh my God.
In other news,
a horrible first, what's it called?
Topic?
First segment of Pop Shots.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Is celebrity death.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So, and then in other news, have you heard about this Mary-Kate Cornett case from Ole Miss, University of Mississippi?
No.
So, this poor girl, beautiful girl, 18 years old, freshman at Ole Miss, has a boyfriend. And I guess this internet rumor started somehow that she slept with her boyfriend's father. All right. And it escalated so much that her parents had to leave Texas, fly to Ole Miss to console her and make sure they're there for her. Obviously, the father's involved now, or they're involved. The boyfriend's father's involved now, right? His name's all over the internet. And basically, millions of people are online cyberbullying this poor girl without a shred of evidence. All right.
Why bullying her and not the father?
So the father didn't say it. It was just some rumor that was started by God knows who. There's a police report now out there that they're trying to figure out who started it because it's a crime. It's like cyber stalking, cyberbullying.
Wait, I thought you said had sex with.
That's the rumor. It's already been proven she didn't sleep with the father. It's all a rumor that somebody who didn't like her put out into the web, the stratosphere, whatever.
Okay, so my confusion was if people thought the rumor was true, they should be going after both parties simultaneously. You're saying it's already been proven that they didn't have sex, and now they're breaking her balls.
Correct. And this poor girl, right? She's 18 years old, got the whole life in front of her, right? And this goes to my point about us, being podcasters and people who are out there, who are broadcasting content. We all want to get views, right? We all want to have as many people enjoy our content, view our content as possible. There's this guy who's on ESPN. I love him. He's fantastic. His name's Pat McAfee. All right. Pat McAfee has a global audience. All right. He has a global audience on TikTok, on his podcast. Every single day, he has a show on ESPN. Every day. So that's how large his audience is. Without a shred of evidence, this adult male goes on his show and basically broadcasts this rumor as fact into the world.
That they were sleeping together. How
irresponsible is that? Pat
is
McAfee. Pat, I'm here to tell you, do better.
It's a disgrace.
Do better. We don't care about you sitting there, I kicked the ball into the coffin corner and now I'm going to, pretend like I hit a 7-iron into the hole. No, you have a responsibility to make sure you report the facts. Be better, Pat McAfee.
Or keep your mouth shut. Remember when people just used to mind their own friggin' business? So I don't understand, how is that relevant on ESPN? Why would it even come up?
I don't know. And that's the thing. It all comes up. Well, I guess because she goes to Ole Miss, so Ole Miss is a school in the SEC, a very big football school. So it's all relative once you mention Ole Miss.
No, I mean, that's a big stretch. ESPN is for sports, cuz.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. Like, why would you go out there and just deliberately...
So is he the one that spread the rumor initially?
He's not the one who spread the rumor, but it got picked up. So then he went out and without even verifying it, started saying, did you hear the story about this 18-year-old girl who slept with her boyfriend's father at Ole Miss?
And I feel like, did you say she started the rumor?
No, she didn't. Somebody, for all we know, Mass, it was sorority girls at Ole Miss. Nobody knows who started it.
Yeah, a friend that's pissed at her or something. Yeah.
Nobody has any idea. But that's one thing.
I thought you said she started it. My bad. Okay.
Thing that especially with the amount of podcasters out there and the amount of content, it's just one thing that I think you have a responsibility to verify things, right? Especially if you have a ton of followers, if you have a huge following, you have this huge digital footprint out there. People take what you say as law. So once he put this out there, how many people are now on the Ole Miss campus talking about it? How many people are now on other college campuses talking about it? Now there's people who are fathers and mothers of students who go to the school talking about it. And it all just spreads like wildfire because you, as a, responsible and respected journalist, so to speak, right? Technically, or influencer, we'll say, influencer.
I was going to say, we're not calling fucking ESPN host journalists.
Yeah,
settle down.
You're out there just broadcasting this content that you don't even know if it's true.
Now, is this a common thing for him, or is this a first-time fuck-up?
This is the first time, but like I said, he's got an extremely brash personality. I really, really like him. I think he's tremendous for college football.
I mean, we all make mistakes.
But this is
hard
something
out here for a
just,
pimp.
Pat, again, why would you even get involved in this? There's no value in this content for you.
And you don't need it. Like, I could see, like somebody at our low level starts a rumor like that. You're doing it. But that's the challenge that we have is like, I want, and I believe you want, our growth to be organic. If it's not organic, it's useless.
No, I agree. I want people to genuinely like our content. I don't want people to like us because of some kind of clickbait thing that we did.
And I realize now it's just a matter of we're not getting enough eyeballs. But hopefully in a year or two, when we're at a point where we're getting more eyeballs, all of this from day one holds up. And that's the goal, right? I mean, that's why it's not easy. And I think like everybody says like, why are you starting a podcast? There's a million podcasts. But like, we're only in competition with ourselves. There's
Correct.
an infinite amount of seats at that table. YouTube is going to continue to pay Mr. Beast, even if they start paying us someday too. Like, there's no competition. Although the market appears to be saturated, I feel like there's zero competition.
So whenever you're in a saturated market, right, you have to have a niche, and just my opinion, I think our niche is that we do only have an outline and a lot of our things are not scripted.
You can't calling social media, calling people with a camera in front of their face on social media saturated. It's like saying you shouldn't open up a pizza parlor because it's saturated. Everybody eats 3 times a day.
It's like saying you shouldn't walk out your door because it's going to be crowded.
It doesn't make any sense. There is no, I guess my point is, there is no real concept of saturation. We talked about this the other day. Everybody has a camera. Everybody has a 4K camera and an internet connection now. There is no such thing as saturation.
No, I agree.
We're all here.
I agree. I have a great segue into this, though, by the way. I think we'll close with this. So talking about saturation, okay? I love me a great Jewish deli. Pastrami, Jewish delis everywhere, right? And it's a saturated market. So usually you got to compete, all right? Usually you compete on price, you compete on taste, whatever. But for the most part, everything's usually within a couple percentage points of each other, right? Or else how else are you going to compete? How come if I go to New York, right? I think it's Katz Deli in New York, and I get a pastrami on rye, it's like $35 friggin' dollars for pastrami, right? But if I go across the river to Hoboken, it's like 21. Did I miss something here?
Yeah.
Did it come from a different animal?
The same ingredients.
Like, what is
probably
the
same
on
bread?
With New York City, that everything is so much more expensive, and why? And I don't know that there's an answer to this. And people are going to go, oh, well, it's because, it's New York. And that's great. That's not an answer. The effect is everything is so expensive. What the hell is the cause?
I think it's not exclusive to New York, though. I realize that's an edge case, and that's the worst case scenario, but it's not exclusive to New York. Things are up everywhere.
No, Massi, it is in New York. Have you ever seen what a studio apartment costs in New York? You're talking $4,500, where a studio in Philly is like $1,100.
Yeah, I mean, I watch Little Mo. I love Little Mo. He says all the time, he says you need at least 3 or 4 jobs to survive in New York.
It's out of control.
Yeah.
But again, I just don't understand this whole thing in society, right? Like, why is the pastrami sandwich in New York $35 and it crossed the river in Hoboken 21? Listen, I realize I'm complaining. If I don't want to buy the sandwich at Katz, just don't go friggin' buy it and just go over to Hoboken. But I just want to understand why. You know what I mean?
I got a hoagie around the corner at Luigi and Giovanni's the other day. It was $6. You know what I mean? So like, I hear you. It's. I don't know. I think in a general sense, the prices everywhere are going up, but people take advantage of New York. Don't you think a little bit has to do with? It's like, okay, if someone has an iPhone, I think this is a general assumption America makes. If someone has an iPhone, they have more money than someone with an Android device.
So it's very possible.
It's not a sex symbol, like a status symbol. Having an iPhone is a status symbol. Having an Android device is not. I think that...
Aren't they the same amount of money?
But that's my point, is that it's rooted in nothing. It's ridiculous. But I think that living in New York, being in New York, eating in New York, playing in New York, whatever you're doing in New York is that same thing. Jersey is not as much of a status symbol or, has as much of a high price tag as New York. Same way that, the Samsung Galaxy costs more than the iPhone, you know what I'm saying? But you're looked down on. In certain circles, somebody's looked down. The kids. Try to give your kid a Samsung device and take it to school tomorrow and watch what happens. Like, I don't know why. It's just like that. You know what I mean? And I think that, like, that is exaggerated.
So I was hoping this wasn't going to be the answer, but the simplistic version of this answer is it costs more because they can charge more. That's
what I'm saying, because the perception is that, we're in New York. We have to live up to X, Y, and Z standard. There's no real reason why it needs to. Yeah, I bet you the same bread truck is coming from Hoboken into New York, and the cost is identical.
And this is why people get so angry, right? I think this is why there's no rhyme or reason as to why things are so... One, prices are out of control everywhere, right? But when it's ridiculously out of control compared to the already outrageously controlled price, why is that you know what I mean? Like, does anybody else ask these questions? Because I ask them all the time.
It's out of control. Look what's happening with the eggs right now.
You know what? I guess from what I understand, it's that bird flu thing, right? I mean...
But I'm just saying, like, prices keep going up everywhere. I agree that New York is taking advantage, but it's horrible to believe or think even that an entire city could get together and raise their prices on several different things just because they can.
Yeah, and that's basically what the driving factor is, right? It's like, hey, you know what? We can, and until people don't pay it anymore, why would we drop the price? And I think that goes to the same thing in any type of consumerism, right? Like, so with the egg prices and anything, right? Everything has gone up, and we were led to believe that it was all because of supply and demand, right? Like anything. I mean, the supply goes down, demand goes up, things are going to get more expensive. So in your mind, you're already thinking about, okay, so when supply goes up and demand goes down, things are going to come back.
It averages out. They keep going up.
Why would when this happened in the 80s, right? Like, you hear stories about how our parents bought their first house for like $30,000. They were making $400 a week, right? Then inflation hit in the 80s and things went up. Everybody got raises. Everybody made more money. Prices for homes got more expensive. Well, did they ever come back down?
No.
So
I read an article. I have to find it. So
that's what I mean. Why would anybody think now, and everybody's arguing over it and blaming this person, blaming that person, etc. Why don't people realize just, hey, guys, prices aren't coming down?
Yeah,
why
never.
would they?
I read an article the other day that said, if your family, it just said family, I guess it meant mother and father. If your family collectively made $80,000 a year in the 80s, they'd have to make $250 a year in 2025 in order to live the same lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, that's
bananas.
My 300% increase.
My dad, he bought the house in Southwest for $35, dog.
Yeah. I remember my dad's mortgage with taxes and everything, I think and we're talking with like a friggin' 13% interest rate. It was like $350.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, I think that's one of the reasons people fight so much now is because we all think, oh, this person drove these prices and this person drove these prices, no matter what side you're on, right? Where I think to prevent that issue, we all have to realize that, look, it's all a chess match between the corporations or the sellers and the buyers. The prices aren't going to come down until the buyers stop meeting that demand.
Historically, they've been going only up constantly.
Exactly.
Our entire lives. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how much we all fight over it when we don't have any control, right? Well, actually, the control we do have is not to buy the product.
Stop buying. Right, exactly.
You know?
But that's the same thing we were saying with AI. Like, if you can find a way, why would you stop eating eggs? Why would you stop going to Katz Deli? Why would you stop getting help from ChatGPT on a daily basis if you don't need to. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's amazing to me how an entire city can get together and raise prices, but an entire community can't get together and stop buying the thing, right? Like, it's unbelievable.
You know what? That's a really, really interesting point. That's a really interesting point. And you know what? Another thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know why I just thought about this. I wanted to bring this up in the last podcast. You know who, and I'm probably not even going to say his name right, Kim
Jong-un, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it either, yeah.
So, you know, we're sitting here, we're talking about
He's got a mean box cut. That's all I know.
I'll tell you what,
I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I wonder if it's painted on sometimes. I almost wonder if it's not real hair.
Looks like there's like a shellac going on there. Yeah,
so,
I don't know.
You know, we're pretty lucky we have the ability to have these conversations, and we're sitting here debating, you know, oh God, eggs are too expensive by $1 or $2 and this. But think about what goes on in North Korea, because I don't know if you heard this story. I saw it on Joe Rogan. So in the 2010 World Cup, right, North Korea made it for the first time in how many years? I have no idea. So basically what happens is, at the end of their third game, they lose, so they go 0-3. They don't advance to the medal round. And you see all the people from North Korea sitting there crying, right? And you're like, man, that sucks. They're crying because they feel like they let their country down, whatever. You know, they're going home. Come to find out, they're crying because they know they're going to go home. And Kim Jong, whatever his name is going to throw them into a labor camp. So because they went 0-3 and embarrassed the country, he threw them in prison. The entire World Cup soccer team.
Embarrassed the country, dog.
Is this
That's
not the craziest shit you ever...
Like,
you know what? We all bitch. We all complain. Tell you what, we don't have it that bad, do we?
We better stop. I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth about Katz Deli ever again, dog.
I mean, could you imagine, like, all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, I go into Katz Deli, and I sit there and I'm like, this is too expensive. Next thing you know, I got there with a 25-pound ball attached to my
shackles.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. The first thing
crazy.
I saw was they were dead. He said that Kim Jong had them killed. So then I'm like, you know, not for nothing.
Way.
I mean,
there's no way.
Nobody knows what goes on in North Korea. Like, they don't even have news. Their news is only put out by the government because it's 100% communist. And then I looked it up and I'm like, no way. But then I did see the article, I mean, flat out from, like, you know, world news outlets that basically said that, you know, yeah, he put them all in a labor camp. That's what they call them. They're prisons over there. They're labor camps.
That's nuts.
So that's what I'm going to close with today. Listen, as much as we all...
Losers get locked up.
As much as we all bitch and complain, everybody's on different sides and God knows what. People have different views. Think about this. We can play soccer and not worry about losing and being forced into slave labor.
Katz Deli's looking better and better.
Every day. So the egg prices. I'd rather pay $16 for eggs than worry about having to be in a forced labor camp.
We're trying to make it with a podcast. These motherfuckers can't even make it home.
No, can you imagine? You can't even go represent your country. God forbid you fuck around and lose. Next thing you know, you got a 50-year prison sentence.
God, that's wild.
That is wild. All right.
All right, Mo.
Shout out to, this is the youth organization of the week, Ridley Youth Lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
My son, Nick, went through Ridley's youth program. He's a freshman in high school now, starting with the high school team. And Chippy, who's my baseball player, decided to go back to lacrosse this year in 4th grade. So, great program there for all the kids. We wish them all luck, and hopefully they have a safe and injury-free season.
Yes, sir. And because we caught it on the other one, but we're not using that. DJ Throwback, he's the only cat, well, hopefully the first, who recognizes the T-shirts. That's the cereal, Yummy Mummy, Boo Berry, Count Chocula. All right, guys, thank you. That's episode 5 in the can. We appreciate everybody's support and feedback so far. Talk to you guys next time. Cheers, man.
Shout out to Massi Auto Body.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Bob. I'll talk to you later, man.